35 minutes I have, my friends. I think of Magritte. And I think of L'Autre Amant. I think it was called The Impossible. An interesting theme that the Surrealists loved. Welcome back, Artist Journal, June 27th, 2025. Broadcasting as if there is no tomorrow. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. In the high seas of the imagination, stormy seas out here in Berlin. You should see the windstorm that happened yesterday. That was awesome. I was on my little, as I do, out with my friend, having a little Weinschorle, white wine with some sparkling water, a delectable treat here in Deutschland, and we were on the water, so to speak, just in a seat by the water, and you could see it coming. First a tree starts breaking, and it was weird because it wasn't windy, but you could see it coming. Fantastic. Anyways, as I say, 1 minute gone already, my friends. Welcome back to Skamra. Skamra. Look at this. So continuing to dazzle, continuing to, push AI forward, as we see here with these painterly textures, often releasing. You see this yellow? I feel like we saw that the other day. Didn't we just see that yesterday in a work? Was it Juana Pedro, who I was speculating was perhaps using AI as well? Interesting. An AI phenomenon, perhaps. Look at these eyes. And to me, this is where AI gets exciting, which is producing novel textures, novel visual experiences. Look at this face. No human has ever made this face. So, using these tools to produce novel outcomes, using new technology, as has been done through the history of art, to produce new outcomes. You think of screen printing, you think of all the different kinds of printmaking. You think of the introduction of, acrylic paints. You think of the tubes, the oils in the tubes, and how that changed the outcomes. Having to paint out en plein air, and the Impressionists having to get it done in the day. And all of a sudden we have a faster style. I was talking with a friend yesterday. She's getting into painting, something she wants to do for the rest of her life. She's maybe 40. And it was hilarious because, I'll keep this story short, but because she was so much where I was when I started painting, which is trying to make the masterpiece, right? You're trying to make the masterpiece, so spending a very long time on one image, right? And this whole thing. And as I was telling her, sometimes it's good to think superficially. And she wanted to put a show together, and she only had one painting. And I was like, sometimes it's good to think superficially. It's actually quite useful. I've come to the realization, which is counterintuitive, and I was telling her, you might want to just do make a deadline, say 6 to 8 weeks from now, and say, I need to make 6 paintings. And then work your way backwards from there and say, how am I going to do that? What is the process? What is almost the factory line that I have to implement in order to do that? So do some experimentation at first. Give yourself a week of experimentation to figure out the assembly line, and then execute. And sometimes when you work fast, it's better. Sometimes when you make more, it's better because you're not trying to recreate the masterpiece or make the masterpiece if you've never made one. It's actually, and I'd almost argue it's the difference between an amateur and a professional mindset when it comes to painting. And I use the word painting loosely here. So here we are, gorgeous, the green hair. You don't even think about it. I mean, again, and actually I have a lot of Skamra here. And Skamra likes to often only 10 retweets, interestingly. So still in the underground here, I guess. I mean, how many followers? 6,000 followers. I mean, not bad. Actually, 6,700 followers. So a brilliant artist we've had on the space. The spaces, when we were doing the spaces about a year ago, I was in Brazil. That was wonderful. That's some resort in Brazil. That was awesome. Love Brazil. Anyway, how did this escape my glance, my notice here? Special Agent Cooper. This came out a month ago. Of course, we think of Twin Peaks. Kind of looks, again, tempting to call this a masterpiece here. Novel image making. I am not able to... What did this go for? A mere 200 Tezos. This modern day masterpiece went for $107 US. Not nothing. But not exactly breaking the bank either. You know, like how many dinners out is that? You know, how many days of sustenance in today's world is $107? So most people can make that sacrifice if they decide not to eat for a couple of days or whatever the case might be, maybe 3 or 4 days. All to say, interesting pricing. Look at this. On the side, the margins. So again, we're on I have a very important meeting in half an hour. So this is a bit of an experiment here. I don't know what's going to happen. So maybe wonderful things come out. Look at this. So gorgeous works again. Some of them released on Object, but I think most of these released on just releases on X first to kind of get the sense of the reaction. Interestingly, Hen Collector. Kind of a risky strategy because X isn't necessarily going to reward the best art, right? Hen Collector writing this, I thought I'd just add this in the middle. Huge fan of Scamra, Hen Collector, and I'm a huge fan of Hen Collector and sometimes comments on the show, so it's great to hear. I think the biggest collector on Tezos, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. And has written some cool essays too. Rarely plant my flag on, quote, this art is forever, but with Scamra, close to convinced. So full marks from Hen Collector. These works are spawning a style and approach others are already trying to emulate. And there is something to be said for that. Almost speaks to our other discussion, the analogy of the gig. Because, put it this way, Scamra is the first to use what I'd call distorted pixels, right? These textured pixels. He was the first. And, you know, when you see the copy layer style, or the copy style, you do start to wonder. And help us understand future forms and selves. So, nevertheless, continuing to lead in that whole regard. Daedalus and Icarus. Wonderful interpretation here. Now, I think there's something that Scamra might learn from this and go, oh, isn't that interesting how Hen Collector loves this piece especially? Because what do we see here? It's almost obscure. It's almost like this, I guess this is Icarus falling from the sky. Is this Daedalus, you know, in some sort of, you know, grieving, right? In despair. But there's a minimalism. It's kind of representational, but it's pretty almost abstract. So it's kind of interesting. It's almost like the more I don't want to use the word obscure because a lot of contemporary art is obscure and it's not good because it's obscure. Like nobody knows what they're talking about. Or some contemporary art. So it's not that obscurity is a virtue, but ambiguity, right? And keeping things kind of open to interpretation and what might, you know, that is another story. And that, I'd argue, is what we see here. So very interesting. I thought I'd just add that in here. Scamra, good afternoon. So more examples of what we're seeing here. I mean, this is exciting, right? I mean, as far as AI art, you know, look at even I go down here. Look at this leg. And then, of course, this almost reminds me of the Dali with the canned beans, fried beans, where the crazy arm that goes across, right? Look at the hair. So kind of minimalistic. Even the sky, this patchy sky. So Scamra making new inroads here. And I was just picking a few. Posts a ton of work on X here. So a couple of more here, just to give you a taste. So Scamra with that insane portrait, and here's more. And my internet might be slow. I'm on phone internet. It is an emergency broadcast here, my friends. Kind of a bit of a Monet field over here. Interesting, yellow sky. This looks like almost like a computer. So lots of experimentation, or old computer game, lots of experimentation going down. Let's check out the comments here in our shortened show. We're already a third over. We'll see how it goes. I may have to just continue on the other side of the meeting. Rada Yankee, thanks for the space and the chance to participate in the art journal. So we have another work by you, Rada, in the physicals. Gorgeous work. Eco Textile, great show, Adrian. I like your take on AI. I learned to use AI first to create art images and 3D experimentation. This happened mainly through Hugging Face Platform's novelty or by testing ideas from random programmers. Only a year later, I had a go at it using AI for writing. My English isn't very good. After designing an ML model and understanding biases in AI technology, I saw how repetition of the old master's artworks was rushed into the first LLM, or large language model. Instead of feeding progressive content for a modern future, we're still trying out new tech with narrow-minded data stories. It's an interesting question, because in a sense it makes sense from a, let's go with the greatest works of art of all time is not a bad way to feed the knowledge base, your database, or what's loosely called the canon. Which is, this is a whole other topic, which I've been kind of hinting at recently, which is there will be a revision, I'm convinced, of the canon. And there always is. But I think we're going to get a big revision, I suspect. But more on that in a future show. I'm sure it'll come up. Many people are about inclusion, ethics, and laws to protect consumers from the evolution of AI. Unfortunately, they are running behind the speed of this AI evolution in every sector. As usual, it is up to artists to come up with novel ideas and ways to break the past norms. Thanks, Zeus, for the vision of this vibrant community breaking this monotonous path. We have some beautiful works by L'Inquisiteur, a couple of more beautiful Greek works here. Anyways, thank you for the very nice comments and very interesting. Yeah, you do. I mean, remember, it didn't show minorities, the AI at first, right? Especially if you're feeding in, Western 20th century art, it's going to be biased in terms of the content, right? So, good point. Enola Whipples, also known as our good friend Waffles, sorry about that burn event. Do not apologize, my friend. I was just thrilled to have a second work that I kind of accidentally bought, and then hallelujah. So if it was an issue, I wouldn't buy it, but it was definitely worth the effort. Let's put it that way. Making it easier for holders moving forward by making it all airdrops now. Growing pains and all that. Stay rad, Poco. As I said, do what makes it fun for you, my friend. If it means doing burns, do burns. Keep it fun. And you stay rad yourself, my friend. Great to hear from you. As well. And Hasdrubal was fired for failure to maintain amplifiers. So a bit of a music element to Waffles here. The comment said basically P-Steak equal Fanavision, P-Snake equal Python. So we are on target here. Ilir Marquez, would you recommend collecting and creating on Tezos over Ethereum? I think I had a nice reply here. Yeah, we're multi-chain over here. However, it's easier. It's kind of frictionless, Tezos. Once you get it set up, you rarely don't have enough Tezos, let's put it that way, to do stuff. Whereas Ethereum, you can easily not have enough Ethereum in your wallet to do stuff. So if you're starting, put it this way, if you're starting, go on Tezos because everything's cheap. So in a sense, because collecting is an art unto itself. And you can make all sorts of mistakes, right? So you kind of want to make those mistakes cheap, rather than on ETH where you're spending $1,500 for a work, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't a great purchase. Maybe I won't get my money back on that. And maybe you love the work anyway, and it does matter. On Twitter, thank you for the response. Great to hear from everybody with a kind of obscure title, but it worked out. August Ground, that KHC, Kurt Hustle Collective, knocked me out as well. I paid heavy on secondary, and it's just utterly singular. I wish I picked one up. I don't know, I just figured, I'll have a couple of days. But I guess, definitely would seize a space in any museum. It is like a masterpiece. I agree. Completely. Grace, Adrian, I love how you speak by omission at times. Thank you for your show. Well, yes, one must, Grace. So I don't know actually what area you're speaking about, but yeah, it's kind of funny. It's almost like the negative space in a painting it's like having a huge margin like we see with Uxine, and then there's a little image in the top left. It's like it speaks for itself, the negative space, so to speak. Rural Idol, bless you, Poco. I found an app to... No hygiene. Great to hear from you. A wonderful artist. We have pretty obscure work, wonderfully obscure work from No Hygiene today. Bless you, Poco. Rural Idol, I found an app to dodge the YouTube ads, but couldn't bear to use it. Well, bless your heart, sir, Rural Idol. And so now I noticed I still got revenues, and I was doing a little research. YouTube may put on default ads that I can't control. I completely killed the ads. I went through select all, remove. So it should at least be better if they may not have all disappeared. And it made me think, if I move somewhere with good internet, I will start a Substack. If you are still getting ads, please let me know. where I'll upload it to Substack or I'll figure out a way, and then it'll just be completely ad free. I mean, of course, it is ad free on X. And I'm going to go the sponsorship route where someone wants to be on the show, or whatever the thing, and then I just handle it myself rather than offshoring it to YouTube. And because you see what they do, right? So, and the thing is, I sacrifice the quality of the show, having it filled with ads. You can bet I'm getting like 5% of the ad revenue or something, not very great, and that they're taking the larger chunk of it. I'm assuming. I could be wrong about that, right? But, if there's that many ads and I'm bringing in €70 over 3 months, it doesn't seem to kind of add up, does it? Let's continue. Thank you for the comment. Rural. David Lockhart, GM, thanks for another great show, and also thanks for bringing gradient art to my attention. This is the only place that I've ever seen anyone ever discuss it. This is the only place that I've seen anyone ever discuss it. Trailblazing, thank you. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I mean, yeah, just kind of making observations here. It's probably just by virtue of the fact that I'm hitting record and showing up. You start to make these things, like airbrush art is kind of another one. And it's obviously a thing. But you don't hear a lot about, like, why isn't art new? Like, this is the disconnect, in a sense, between, what I'd call the visual arts underground, and it doesn't need to be this way, it just is, and, like, art news. And fair enough, but they should be, and maybe they have talked about people using airbrush spray, but maybe art news is more about the business of art. Maybe it should be art business news. Anyways, thank you for the comment, appreciate that. Nathan Sonic, loved the passive-aggressive museum art gallery criticism in this. Angry Pocobelli. Yes, indeed. A little indignation there. So thank you for the comments. Glad you enjoyed that. August Ground, just get rid of the phone. Indeed. Very simple. I think they just have no photos, actually, was the thing. And I'm not sure if you can take out your phone. Like, I think they just have like a no phone, or I can't remember what's in the Prado, but it worked. So, the Uffizi, simple solution for the Uffizi. 100% glad we didn't ruin any paintings on our foot race through the Uffizi. I took August Ground on a sprint through the Uffizi. And so let's continue. So good to hear from you, August. Jan Lucas Magone. We have a work by August this show. It's the new day. Let's go. Awesome. August Ground, if you're going to get a Rothko, that's a really nice Ross. It is, indeed. Glad you liked that. Yenny Spenny, great to hear from you. Dance Vitar, great to hear from you. Longtime watcher of the show. Gelatin, Before Sleep, better than any series. Well, thank you, this wonderful community and viewers. Time for coffee and Pokebelly and a sneak peek from work. So here's Pedro Jose working on a cool digital art collage. Love how the moon glitches out there and everything. Super cool to hear from Pedro Jose. Nostalgia Unlimited, we made it in the journal. Yeah, Garf. Glad Garf made you smile. That was brilliant, Nostalgia. Love that. And here, not sure from there, I believe that was our friend Pinsnake there. All right, Rachel Rossin. Okay, so this is interesting. Art review. This is AI co-authored paintings. So, and this is kind of more trad art, for lack of a better term, website media, shall we say. And so, I don't know if we've seen a ton of it. We've seen Rafik Anadol, of course, in Art News, I believe. But this is interesting. Because, as I've been saying here, the way to make, painting modern is to incorporate the visual vocabulary and processes of the present. Really quoting Ballard on science fiction and really, the modern artist. So you see here, all of a sudden you see, oh, this is AI. All of a sudden it's interesting and it's relevant to us, and all of a sudden it grabs us. If this was just, a painting of a field that could have been made in 1800, you'd say, what's the point? Is this necessary is the kind of question I'll ask myself. This is doing AI. All of a sudden we can start to say, okay, this is contributing. So we could argue this art, it's this notion, it comes down to this notion of art as a kind of knowledge, as a form of knowledge, of visual experiences that increase our knowledge. Something else that's never, ever discussed, I would argue, At least not that I've seen. I'm sure somewhere in some textbook or scholarly journal somewhere, hopefully, someone has brought this up. Let's continue. This is basically all I want to say. Who is the artist here? Rachel Rossin's second solo show, The Totalists. That pretty much, I don't know if this is also using AI. So interesting, isn't it? Here's some digital. Not sure. So I think just doing painting of AI is sufficient here. Interesting ratio of the canvas. I don't really have time for this headline, but I was like, is this a collage? Just for people who have, studied this topic and, listened to Terence McKenna, back in the late 90s is when I got introduced to the writings of Terence McKenna and everything. I mean, who would have ever thought you'd see the day with Fox News putting out a headline, single dose of magic mushrooms provides 5 years of depression relief. Researchers find this is not a collage. Wow. So the lesson here is history happens. Things do change over time, which is easy to forget when you're in the thick of it. Sometimes it feels like the all-consuming present. Verse, you can make, how are we doing for time? 15 minutes. You can make credit card offers on Verse without connecting your wallet. Try it out. We'll be accepting the 5 best offers on our works in our collection on Saturday. We'll be gifting this to Botto to someone who retweets this post term. So there you go. So isn't that cool? So really minimizing the crypto aspect, which I think is actually wise. Let's continue. Noah gave it some time to see if it grew on me, but nope, the new OpenSea layout user interface is an atrocity. Borderline unusable. Yeah, it's interesting. Put it this way, when it just kind of shows up and then I'm kind of like escape. I'm trying to get back to what it was. It was actually a pretty good layout. I would argue it just needed a reskin. The layout was quite brilliant. It worked, interestingly. It just needed to be kind of upgraded. As someone put it, I think last episode we had someone who was saying, take notes from Object. But instead they took notes from that platform, whose name I can't even remember anymore, but who kind of turned it into a big farming scheme. If you remember that, I can't even remember what they're called. I want to say like Flux or something. I can't remember. Ordinal's wallet breaking. The Ordinal user count has dropped more than 90% since all-time highs. Now, that's kind of exciting from over here. I see that as an opportunity. So kind of exciting. This often happens in crypto before things blow up. It's it's very volatile space. Killer Acid, to their credit, No Bad Trippers is coming soon to try Gamma, or Gamma, the Gamma.io, the Bitcoin platform, a generative pixel collection of classic Killer Acid doodles and goons. So quite smart. You see here, working with the limitations of Bitcoin, okay, if I make some pixel art, it's a smaller file size, therefore it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg to post this. Look at how good this looks. This is one of the best renderings of digital art I think I've ever seen in a physical frame, because it fits perfectly, right? It's just a square, and that looks pretty good. Like, as far as persuasiveness, of course, this is Marcelo Pinel, aka Cyber Mystic on X, and here's Quampa with a vertical screen and then using the bottom as a title area, which is also a cool solution. So, of course, I think we might have looked at a work in the series. Here is, I think, Tez Pepe. And here is Sonia Perez. Now, I thought this was actually, someone else. So this is just a painting. Anyways, cool-looking painting. Here, physical painting on the scene there on X as we move into the works here. It's going to be a challenge. So 31,000. Wow. Look at this. 909,000. 962,000. It just jumped. 51,000. Wow. 53,000. So one don't knows. The detail versus the full piece. Congratulations. Very good work here. So, wow. Almost 1 million views for one don't knows. So big congratulations. I believe sold out this entire show. So that's super cool. Rustic Digital Art, raw and dirty. So awesome to see. For those who have been on the scene, at least I haven't seen anything from Rustic Digital Art for what feels like at least a year. I'd have to go to the page to find out. But anyways, just an awesome artist. Super interesting artist. So great to see them making work. And there's the little Mario. Even the Mario's back. Really interesting artist. So that is cool. On Object, edition of 10. And is this sold out? It is at $4.20. So selling for a couple of bucks. Pretty good. Here is Kazuhiro Ehira. And what is this called? Hacking the System. So cool work here. So digital abstract has a very physical influence. As we see here, here's another gorgeous work. Kind of looks like digital paper, if I had to guess. Error file not found, also by Kazuhiro Ehira. Beautiful work. Very painterly, very great, smart painter is kind of how I feel when I see that. Nov 1914 is an interesting piece. This is on Object. Cool juxtaposition and a lot of detail in this work over here. What do we have here? Edition of 4. It's a small edition, big frame at the bottom, or just big kind of line there that looks like part of a frame, but no other frame. And selling for 13, Tezos, edition of 4. And a nice piece here, Otra Ventana, so nice flowers here. So a subject that Nov 1914 out of Argentina likes to return to. And of course, Stand Control, classic work here with cigarettes. So electronic cigarettes, also a gradient artist. So we like to say, this is no hygiene. The outrageousness, who of course I follow, that is a glitch on X. The wonderful no hygiene with this, fuzzy JPEG'd out spider. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Here is Jeremy Austin with a very interesting work here. As you see, I don't know if you can see this. What we have here is mark making, but you see it gets turned into dithering. So traveling through the mediums a little bit, or at least through digital formats or digital ways of mark making. We're back to digital mark making. Cool, nice. And I like how, adding what I'd almost call the notebook, the sketchbook style, composition style, right? Which never gets talked about either, courtesy of this show, as far as I understand. But I mean, I'm sure it's been discussed. It's Basquiat. But where the compositional style is basically, it's the doodler, right? There's no formal composition here. It's a series of juxtapositions, but similar to Rauschenberg as well in composition, right? So it's kind of interesting. So looking good from Jeremy Austin. Let us continue. Let me just fix this. Canik Zapata. Here is AI artwork, Canik Zapata. Not sure what the kind of looks like, of course, anime or manga, and almost combining with some sort of UI, maybe from sports or from a video game. Here's another one, Buy Now. So combining things, this is pretty rad, Canik Zapata. So cool works here, very textured works, again using what looks like manga. Very nice. So not sure, so again the Python script, the cellular automata. And let's continue, Sophie Ogor with an interesting piece, and maybe that's the Sophie Ogor character with some maybe stars or little pixels in the background. Edition of 6. This is interesting. We may have seen this, but I almost started the show with this because I thought this was a work, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Is that someone, is this Sui Soichi, zooming in and then starting to manually kind of fix the pixels in a sense? Like all of a sudden this was like, oh, this is very conceptually interesting. But I think it's just a zoom in, as it says here, details. But kind of like turned made a neuron connected in my brain when I saw this. I was like, is this because imagine this is the work. It's like 2000 by 2000 or something, but you have this giant, I don't know if this is an icon of a JPEG icon or just something, right? Or a variation of that. And then you start, working with the JPEG artifacts and actually kind of turning that into kind of an impressionist painting. That's what I thought I saw at first. And in effect, that's what this is. But these are details. I thought that was the work. And I was like, pretty interesting. Here's L'Inquisiteur. RNT. I'm not sure what that says. I wish I did. My Greek reading is okay, but not spectacular. Look how good that looks. So very nice work here from L'Inquisiteur. Love it. Here's another one. And who is this? Wish I could read that. Is that? I can't tell. Almost reminds you of Ophelia, hilariously enough. Anyways, beautiful work here with this, with the Santiago's waffles drawing tool, made by Santiago. The waffles drawing tool made by Santiago, also known as Time. Magnetismo, pouring out my heart. Can't remember, somebody retweeted this, and it looks great. I thought it was very cool. Speaking of Ophelia. Cool work there by Magnetismo. I think it was Sui Soichi. Here is Ondi, who retweeted it. Look at this. Doesn't this just look like the stealth bombers? And just this super minimal version. I thought that was quite brilliant. A minimal triptych. Missing piece, and because you see piece here, you assume that that is what this is about. Let me keep going here. Jean Provencher with a variation here. A very cool variation of this Doom Quake type of gameplay. Just really cool. Repeating the image, almost going through a gallery. Very cool. This was a great one by Michael Micasso, mech.txt, kind of role-playing game. And as you see here, kind of different ratio, though, than, say, Ultima. And adding kind of a, RPG type of text underneath. Beautiful color. Stunning color. Love it. Here is Gogolitis with a cross. And what is this called? Lining the cross. And so pixel art meets traditional iconography, one might say, from the history of painting. Very cool edition of 200. 111 Tezos. I guess that's on secondary. Don't be creative. So another work by Gogolitis. Pretty cool. I'm trying to think of what the reference is to here. For collective mental safety, the time for improvisation is over. So, of course, we don't have time to read this, but cool work from Gogolitis. That is on Object, 20 Tezos. I believe this is Pinball Guy. Good morning. So, pizza and mouse, cool work. Very kind of net iconography, kind of meme iconography, so to speak. Here's Opia. Cool work here. Again, combining anime with what looks like ASCII, right? Love the inclusion of Untitled Notepad in there. It's kind of it's kind of revealing the process a little bit. Very cool. Here is Yigo. So cool work, kind of, I assume this is Yigo. So nice, kind of interesting digital artwork. Person walking. Here is Perfect Loop on Object, on Tezos, wrong window. So once again, putting on some effects here using Windows 95. Love that top left area in orange. And then one big window, again, framing the work. Interesting piece, edition of 15. And I believe this is sold out, or just offers coming in, not listed yet, and serious offers. 50 Tezos, pretty good. Haiti Rocket with a fabulous work, edition of 9 for 99 Tezos. Look at that. Gorgeous color, and using some sort of retro software. Amiga 1200 is probably the computer. Very nice piece. And here is Ernesto Ash. I'm going to just write a quick message here as we look at Ernesto Ash. Just going to write, here we are again. I think I just got to be a couple of minutes late. So Ernesto Ash, beautiful work here. The failed portrait of a pixel in the wild. Let me quickly write here. And here is Feels. And I think I just have to risk being 5 minutes late, which I never do. Sorry, Feels. Everything is coming. How much more do we have here? Let's run. Renki. I'm just going to write this person really quickly. Forgive me as we look at Renki's brilliant work. And here we go. 5 mins, please. Finishing show. There we go. Okay, we're good. Renki Shin Mori. Beautiful work, as ever, from Renki, traditional colors. Here's August Ground. Open edition, Tejas Radiance. And so, cool work here from August Ground, and that is on Object. Open edition for 3 Tezos, 1 minted. So you might get a small edition if you're lucky. That is open for another 4 days. Here is Toucan Daytime. So pretty cool work. I'm trying to think of where the reference is here. Nice analog video glitch. Here is DJ Kiro. Blades, beautiful video painting. The pioneer, really, of video painting, I would say. One could argue. DJ Kiro, one of the pioneers. Edition of 100 Tezos. Here is Urin Yekon. I don't think we've seen this one. A very rich stream here by Urin Yekon. Here is Ex Mortal. Beautiful work here. This is an edition of 13 of a flower opening and more analog video glitch here. From Ex Mortal Veil, as we see here. So beautiful work here from Ex Mortal. And then we have Aura, Cyber Rainforest. Let's see what's going on here. If it will play for us. Aura, we may have to try again on a future day. Cyber Rainforest, I will try again. I cannot wait any longer. Beautiful work here by Ilya Moved, Dissolved, gorgeous, kind of textile AI. Here is Idley, who of course I follow, GM. So playing with some different faces here and textures. The hilarious works here by Machine. Might delete later. So kind of edgy, wild AI artworks. Pretty original AI artist here, as you see. Just kind of fun and definitely has her own style. And here's a brilliant painting by Machine. Some funny comment happened to me in Tokyo. So pretty hilarious, brilliant painting and kind of trademark. Here's Walk. And this looks like one of those Facebook stickers. Brilliant. And here is Rada with another work. Of course, I follow Rada, again, looking like from the tarot. Gorgeously done. Look at that background, how it kind of fades. Brilliant. And here is Zio, Yoshitaka Amano Front Mission. I thought this was a pretty fun, kind of cool work. And that, my friends, is your show. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care. And here's a work by The Myth to finish us off. Thank you.